everyone, and welcome. My name is Jesus Iñiguez, and I am the lead of this project, Beyond Status, as part of the Center for Cultural Power. And for the screening portion of this showcase, I will also be your humble host. Later on, for the Q&A panel, I'm excited to announce that Emily Tosta is in the building and will be moderating. So please stick around for that after the films. It's an honor being here with all of you. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my film-loving heart for joining us today. I hope all of you have your favorite movie snacks within reach and are ready to cozy up and watch some short films. Now, a bit about the project. Beyond Status was created intentionally to mold a space for migrant filmmakers to speak unapologetically to their experiences as migrants without having to explain or justify themselves. As an undocumented filmmaker myself, I know that these spaces are rare and sacred, and that's why I'm so eternally grateful to everyone who's been a part of this process, and I'm incredibly proud of all the work that we will be showcasing tonight. I believe that there is a certain kind of care and caliber of storytelling that comes from directors who have a life experience that matches the projects that they're working on. And when it comes to the migrant experience, too often we see stories that treat immigrants as one-dimensional subjects, choosing to solely focus on their traumas or their status as part of a statistic. But migrants are so much more than that. Alright, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, as before we jump into the program, there are some housekeeping items that I have to mention. First, there's the matter of accessibility. Live human-generated closed captions are available and are customizable to your needs. All you have to do is click below on the CC icon, select Turn on Closed Captions, and then you can click Customize and make the adjustments that you need, size, color, and the location on the screen. The entire screening will be closed caption, but for the Q&A portion set to take place after the screenings, we will have live ASL interpretation. And finally, to access the program for tonight, click the clipboard icon right here on the top right. There you can find a link to the Beyond Status website, as well as an email where you can send inquiries regarding tonight's work and the filmmakers. There's also a link for live caption translations in Spanish, Bengali, and Tagalog. To the top left of the agenda, you can also get live help by clicking on the question mark if you have any tech questions related to this event. The quote bubble is also a chat function where you can chat everyone in the event, share your reactions, message the filmmakers directly, or send questions for the Q&A later to the Center for Cultural Power. Okay, Beyond Status, let's do this. When migrant creatives are given an opportunity to create on their own terms, we see new and interesting narratives emerge, new angles, voices, and ideas. And it's these emerging perspectives that allow us to imagine a different reality where storytellers can reconcile their political identities and be who they truly are, artists. Tonight, the Center for Cultural Power is proud to premiere 5 short films, all which have been written, directed, and produced by filmmakers of different migrant backgrounds. And tonight, you all aren't just regular audience members. You are all a part of this experience. We invite you to react to the films by using the reaction buttons available to you on the screen. We also hope that you hang around after the films and participate in the Q&A panel, where all 5 filmmakers will speak on their work as part of the showcase. Again, please feel free to send your questions over to the Center for Cultural Power in the chat, which you can access by clicking on the talk bubble. And a quick shout out to all of our partners and sponsors who made this effort possible. Papeles para Todos, Raíces, Final Draft, and a special shout out to the Undocumented Filmmakers Collective. All right, without further ado, let's jump into our first film of the evening. Rakim's Secret, directed by Frisly Soberanis. Frisly is a director and video artist hailing from Queens, New York by way of Guatemala. His work explores separation, distance, and the migrant experience. Some of his past work has been shown internationally, and recently, Frisly was the recipient of the Next Generation Award by the Hispanic Access Foundation for his film, Sé lo que es pandemia. Rakim's Secret is a first for Frisly. It's a narrative piece, an experimentation of sorts, a study on satire as it relates to a stoner type question. Illegal aliens. What if there were aliens living in Queens? Please enjoy Rakim's Secret.
Called the dawn of a new space age. Billionaire Richard Branson, now the first person to reach the
Virgin Galactic now launching a sweepstakes to win 2 seats on a future flight, hoping to open up space for all.
No, I can't. And you know why? People are not supposed to see.
It'll be fine. Just, no one will see this. It'll just be for us. And you can just be yourself, your true self.
Hello. I'm Rakim, and I'm the best candidate for this Virgin Galactic space trip with Richard Branson because I'm smart. And I have
You moved in today?
I was taking a nap.
Oh, no. Okay, so I'm so sorry. Don't be mad. But, so I forgot to tell Ivy about this.
Oh my god, why would you record this?
because it would help us win the extra ticket to the Bezos space flight.
Yeah, and then what are you going to do? Ride up with Jeff Bezos, open the door, and just exit into space?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to do. I'm tired, Romeo. I'm ready to find out more about my home. What do you think it feels like being separated for so long?
I know you are, but the world, it isn't ready for you or for us. I mean, look at her.
Like undocumented? I mean, I voted for Obama twice, and I don't believe in borders.
Oh my god.
You're not too far off.
Outer space being?
No. Yes, no. I'm from Northern Boulevard. I went to PS19. I loved the MTA on weekends. It just happens that I was born in the...
Stop touching me.
Wait. I get it. Like, I understand. I know someone.
I don't think so.
No, yeah, I do. I can show you.
No. What are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, y'all. Give it up to Frisly and Rakim's Secret. I want to see some reactions below or in the chat. Personally, I'm left wondering where Homegirl is taking Rakim, and if indeed there are others like Rakim somewhere in Queens. Just the train right away. We'll hear from Frisly later on in the Q&A, so please stick around. Next up, we have a film by Rahi Hasan titled 35. Rahi is a formerly undocumented dancer, documentary maker, impact strategist, and educator challenging power on all fronts to create space for healing and radical imagination. They are currently based in Durham, North Carolina by way of Dhaka, Bangladesh. A co-founder of the Undocumented Filmmakers Collective, they've received the Firelight Media Impact Producer Fellowship, the Lewis Hine Documentary Fellowship, and recently a spot on Doc NYC's documentary New Leaders Initiative for 2021. Congratulations, Rahi. Let's show Rahi some love. 35 is a unique piece as part of this showcase. It's the only one that shows a formerly undocumented filmmaker documenting their trip back to their sending country after being able to adjust their status. And it's also a vignette from a much longer feature that Rahi is currently working on. This joint here goes out to all of you water sign folks. Y'all know who y'all are. All right, 35, please enjoy.
I've never been comfortable with the way societal labels dictate how we're treated. Thus, I want to discover more about my identity in ways that go beyond all the labels that are imposed on me. The traits that have stayed most true to me my whole life are those associated with my astrological placements. I have all the information I need to confirm my astrological chart, except the exact time I was born. My birth certificate was lost due to the major flood in Bangladesh a year after I was born, so there is no way for me to confirm my birth time. I realized that I needed to go back to the hospital where I was born if I were to have any chance of tracking this down. But I couldn't.
Because of the immigration law, whatever we expected did not happen. I applied I-30 after I got my document, and it takes another 7 or 8 years to get our visa mature. When we got the removal proceeding, then we became more worried. Obama declared a new law, Dhaka. By this law, we had a shelter. She was staying under the cover of Dhaka almost 6 years. Meantime, her visa matured. The I-30. We applied for the cancellation of removal green card. Luckily, we got the date within a month again,
For years now, and her dad and her mother. She's looking down a road that can go this way or that way, and it's kind of nerve-wracking to know that there's so much riding on a decision that happens today.
গ্রেটফুল ফিল করতেছি যে আবার এই দেশের মাটির সাথে ইউনাইট হইতে পারতেছি। একটা নতুন জন্ম মনে হচ্ছে। 19 বছরের একটা সময় পার হইছে, এখন একটা নতুন রিলেশনশিপ এই কান্ট্রির সাথে। So I want to start it off with a ritual. We can be more conscious of protecting this environment, protecting this land, and also protecting each other, and that we don't harm each other. Thank you, Earth, for allowing me to come back to this land again.
অ্যাড্রেসটা কি ছিল? মাস আমাকে এখানে এনে রাখছিল। 3টা সিজার হয়ে গেছে, এটা 4 নম্বর সিজার ছিল, এই জন্য আমার আগে এনে এখানে ভর্তি করে রেখে দিছে।
এটা কিসের জন্য? মাশাআল্লাহ।
না, ওটা 86 ডিসেম্বরের, এটা 27। আমরা 86 খুঁজতেছি, 86 অক্টোবর খুঁজতেছি। এটা ওইটাই ছিল, এটা থেকে এখান থেকে বেশ কিছু চলে গেছে।
এখন লাস্টেরটা কত আছে এখানে? 12, 86, 12, 2 মাস। তাতে 1 বছরের একটা মিসিং হচ্ছে।
খুব ভালো লাগছে এসে, ধন্যবাদ, অনেক ধন্যবাদ। 86 সালে জন্ম, অক্টোবরে, তো 12 পর্যন্ত পাইছে, ডিসেম্বর পর্যন্ত পাইছে, কিন্তু অক্টোবরটা পাচ্ছে না। বলছে আরেক জায়গায় দেখার চেষ্টা করবে।
There I was, traveled across the world, standing exactly where I was born. There were handwritten notebooks with records from years before I was born and years after I was born. But there was this one book missing. The book that had the records I was looking for. Well, I don't know where it goes from here. But as I turned 35, I realized I already achieved so much of the life I had imagined for myself. And now that I'm embarking on a fertility journey, I wonder, aside from my astrological placement, where did my childhood self find the tools to navigate their experiences in this world to come as far as I've come? What contributed to who I was becoming? As I undergo EMDR therapy, I think I finally have the emotional capacity to unpack the complex nuances that shaped my identity, including my trauma. And so, the quest continues.
All right, let's show Rahi some love for their film 35. Let's see some reactions. And let's also get some reactions from you folks who have worked on your birth charts. Are there any other triple water signs out there? I don't know, let us know. We're gonna hear from Rahi later on in the Q&A, so please stick around. If you have just joined us, welcome, hello. Here, you can find the chat function where you can message the Center for Cultural Power any of your questions for the Q&A portion taking place later and chat with anyone else present. Clicking the clipboard also opens our agenda where you can find the link to the Beyond Status website and provides an email for filmmaker reach out. And for live human generated closed captioning, click the CC button below where you can also enable and customize them. All right, so moving right along to our third film of this showcase, Mojosito and Me, written and directed by Lidieth Arevalo. Born in Ahuachapan, El Salvador, Lidieth comes to us from Long Beach, California. She is an activist and independent filmmaker with a commitment to impact the world and use audio-visual media to evoke change, promote diversity, inclusion, equity, and justice for all. She already has an impressive resume of documentaries under her belt, including last year's Growing in the Shadows, a short film that she created for PBS in the Latino Public Broadcasting. This film here is for all you somewhat irresponsible but loyal car owners. We hope that you love Lidieth's Mojosito and Me as much as we do.
Oftentimes, we don't think much of the moments we live in our cars. We tend to focus on the destination, the traffic jams, la rutina of going to work. But there is so much of life that happens in front and behind the wheel. Now imagine driving the same car for 16 years, with over 250,000 miles and counting. What kind of stories you would share? I met Mojosito in April of 2005. I was 13 years old at the time. I had recently immigrated from El Salvador to California when my mom bought it, and it's been with us ever since. Throughout my life, I've lived in 15 homes, including 5 houses, 4 apartments, 3 studios, 1 bedroom, 1 basement, and 1 garage. All of that is to say that Mojosito has been the only constant in my life since I arrived to the States, and it has remained under my care until today. Actually, I wouldn't say care, because I've been a little bit of an irresponsible car owner. I mean, let me tell you the story of why I call it Mojosito in the first place. Once upon a time, there was a bird that pooped right on the roof, and I didn't clean it. A couple days passed, maybe a couple weeks, or was it months? I can't remember. Anyway, the poop got stuck to the roof, and for some evil biochemistry reason, it created a rusty spot that grew and grew and grew over time until, well, it pretty much ate up the whole roof. And now my car looks like crap. But in my defense, I was going through a lot at the time. I had recently moved to Long Beach. I was living alone. I didn't have a job. I was struggling with school. My mom was sick and far away. It got so bad that at one point I had to survive on canned food from churches and community centers.
Estoy enfrente de la iglesia St. Jude's. Voy a hacer línea para recibir comida y se llena demasiado de gente, entonces uno tiene que levantarse súper temprano para ser uno de los primeros. Compré esto.
My priority was to pay for the rent and avoid going homeless. So in a way, my life was pretty crappy too. To many people, a car is just a car, a tool to get from point A to point B, but to me, Mojosito is more than that. It has been home away from home, my loyal companion of many years. It has seen me grow from a teenage girl to a 30-year-old woman.
Hi, 771,
Thank you.
From laughs to farts, dreams to tears, and fears to cheers, Mojosito has seen it, heard it, and smelt it all. It held my sweaty and shaky undocumented hands when I couldn't have a driver's license. And we celebrated together at the DMV when I was able to get one in 2013 through the DACA program. After that, Mojosito and Me had la confianza y la libertad to travel the states and see unbelievable places I've only seen in movies, sharing beautiful moments. Mojosito has also carried the weight of my ears, literally. I've stepped on it again, and again, and again. And my cat? Yeah, apparently that's my thing. On a more personal note, Mojosito also held the last space I shared with my whole family in the US before my brother got deported in 2008. And since then, my family hasn't been together. But it's not just me who has changed over time. Mojosito too has changed. From its shiny blue exteriors of a brand new car to rusty tops and dented doors like a car that has encountered many roads. But with every dent and every scratch comes a time worth remembering, a story worth telling, a lesson worth learning, and a risk worth taking. I remember one day I woke up to the surprise that Mojosito's side door had been kicked by somebody on the street, and they left a huge dent. Another day, somebody broke and stole the side mirror. That's why one of the mirrors is black and the other one is blue. Sometimes you don't have many options, so you learn to live with the risks and hope for the best. Most of the time, everything works out fine, but the unexpected happens and all you can do is aguantar until better days come. I remember waking up on September 5th of 2017 and finding out that the DACA program had been rescinded. It was like taking a hit and run when your insurance cancels your policy. Uncertainty crept in. Who is going to pay for the damages? As a DACA recipient, I was freaking out. But just like Mojosito, I've learned to live on with the dents and the bumps on the road. The future may be uncertain, just like the life cycle of any car, but that doesn't stop us from driving. So every year, I take a leap of faith. I pray to God to extend the life of Mojosito and for the opportunity to be free and to drive to where I want to be.
That was Mojocito and Me, directed by Lidieth Arevalo. Chat it up. Let's see some reactions below. Let's give it up to Lidieth. See, watching this flick makes me think that I need to go on a road trip because it's been a while. So let's see some reactions if y'all felt the same way. Lidieth will be with us later on for the Q&A panel, so please don't go anywhere. Up next, we have Day and Night, written and directed by Nix Guirre. Nix is a documentary filmmaker and cultural worker based out of the Bay Area in California. She emigrated from the Philippines when she was 18 and received a BA in film and TV production at USC. Go Trojans! She's now an independent documentarian working primarily with different grassroots organizations throughout the Bay and recently joined Soma Pilipinas as their program and communications coordinator. Day and Night is something that I've been waiting to see from Nix. Full transparency, Nix is someone that we consistently tap to help edit and create video pieces for us. For this particular project, I was very curious to see what sort of story Nix wanted to tell. So now that we have it here, please enjoy Day and Night.
Dancing has always been my favorite way of expressing myself. Whenever I danced, I felt free, unbound. Every year I performed for my entire school, up until I left home. Leaving the Philippines to live in the States was a dream come true, but I wasn't prepared for what was to come in exchange for the people and the experiences I left behind. At 18, I had no choice but to step into my new identity as a hardworking immigrant woman of color. I watched my life change in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, I was working 3 jobs while going to school, yet still living paycheck to paycheck. I moved across the Pacific Ocean to be in the land of the free, only to find myself feeling trapped. Year after year, I tell myself, this is the year I'm going to get back into dancing. It's been 12 years and it hasn't happened. I miss dancing as much as I miss home. This deep longing only continues to grow, and I know the only thing that could help fill this is to reconnect with my culture and my community.
I saw you dance Pangalay, the dance you're gonna teach me.
I think that's what I'm looking for, is for dance to be healing, because I feel this guilt in my heart that I didn't even get to express my love for my country, or I didn't even realize that I loved my country when I was still living there. I just spent a lot of time wishing that I was not there, that I was in a different country and have a better life. And that's why I wanted to learn from you.
I like to think that had we not been colonized by Spain, considering the trading between all these different countries, and even like the fact that Manila, before it was Manila, was predominantly Islam, that Pangalay would have been a bigger vocabulary to us, would have been maybe more part of our dances, because now what our dances look more like are actually Spanish influence.
Right. Those are the ones that I grew up dancing.
And also when you look at like the other cultures around us, like Borneo, Cambodia, Malaysia, they have such similar dances that are more reflective of Pangalay than like our Spanish influenced dances. Pangalay means to offer. And the movements, when you hone in on it, they are reflective of like the ocean.
I haven't been home in more than 7 years, and I'm not sure when it'll be safe to fly there again, and so I offer this dance as my love letter to my motherland.
Araw gabi hanap kita. Isip ka, napapanaginip ka, kahit saan magpunta. Araw gabi nalalasing sa tuwa, kapag kapiling ka. Araw gabi hanap kita. Araw gabi
And that was Day and Night, written and directed by Nix Guirre. How did that one land with y'all? Please chat it up, show Nix some love with some reactions. Nix will be here later on to talk to us about the creation of this piece in the Q&A panel. So make sure to stick around for that, as it's coming shortly. But first, our final film of the evening, Gansos Raros, or Odd Ducks, written, directed, and starring Samantha Ramirez-Herrera. Born in Mexico City, Samantha is the founder and CEO of Off the Record, a video content agency based out of Atlanta, Georgia, where she's also based. She's done work for Google, Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, Stacey Abrams for Governor, among many other projects. Gansos Raros is one of her more personal projects, and I know that it's one that she's been waiting to work on for a very long time. This piece is a pilot for a much bigger idea that Samantha has, but you know, one step at a time. Just know that future episodes are coming. But for now, let's dip into the world of odd ducks. Enjoy.
You ready? You got this. We're badasses. Let's go.
Where's the restroom?
Sam, you got this. Get your shit together. Bitch, you got this. A new life awaits you. Get your fucking shit together. You got this.
Mommy, what's wrong?
When are you going to sit still? You're always all over the place. Mujer, settle down. Get a job. Stop dragging el niño all around for tus pendejadas. Sit in peace.
Ni se da cuenta.
They're hiring at my job. I can get you in. Work as a cashier or in the grill.
No, ya me voy. Miles, let's go. No, I'm never coming back. I know you all don't believe in me, but I'm gonna make shit happen. I have dreams.
Wait, dreams? What you mean about dreams? You are illegal.
Miles, let's go. ¿Saben qué? Yo los quiero a todos ustedes, aunque ustedes no crean en mí.
We'll be here when you return. No le hagas caso, no.
Mommy, are you okay?
We are okay.
Fuck you. Stop bullying me.
I'm pretty, I'm cool, you can learn English. Bitch, you got this. I'm okay.
This is the final boarding call for passengers booked on flight DL85A to Atlanta, Georgia. Please proceed to gate 3 immediately.
Man. Fuck fear. Let's go.
Fuck fear. Fuck fear.
And that was Gansos Raros by Samantha Ramirez-Herrera. That was fresh, wasn't it? I know. Let's see some reactions and some words of love in the chat. I really sincerely hope that you vibed with all 5 short films as part of this showcase. Let's show all 5 filmmakers some love and some reactions. Let's give it up to Samantha, Nix, Lidieth, Rahi, and Frisly. We're gonna go on a very short intermission of 5 minutes, and we will be back with a live Q&A panel featuring all of the filmmakers whose work we just saw. So don't go too far. Get your quick bio break in, stretch, grab some more snacks, and if you have any questions for the filmmakers, please send them to the Center for Cultural Power over here in the chat. Again, my name is Jesus Iñiguez, and it's been a sincere pleasure sharing this work with all of you this evening. Next up, we have Emily Tosta, who will be speaking with all 5 filmmakers about their work after this very short intermission. So don't go too far. Be sure to come back. And we are back. Thank you so very much for joining us for this live Q&A session, which will be moderated by Emily Tosta. Emily is a Dominican-American actress, producer, dancer, singer, and activist, and is best known for playing Lucia Acosta in Party of Five. She currently has a recurring role as Leticia Cruz in the television show Mayans MC. As a migrant herself, she arrived in Miami at the age of 12 to pursue a career in acting. Please give her a warm welcome onto the stage, along with all 5 of our filmmakers, Frisly Soberanis, Rahi Hasan, Lidieth Arevalo, Nix Guirre, and Samantha Ramirez-Herrera.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I was so incredibly moved by every single one of your films. I'm so honored to be here amongst these incredible filmmakers. Thank you so much. Frisly Soberanis, Nix Guirre, Rahi Hasan, Samantha Ramirez-Herrera, and Lidieth Arevalo. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. I guess we'll just kind of start off by talking, and if you guys don't mind, I have a couple of questions so we can just kind of hang out. And I would love to start off by asking, I would love to know what was the most fulfilling part about working on your project for every single one of you. I don't know if maybe Frisly wants to start off.
Sure, I could start off. Well, first of all, I think some of the most rewarding experiences filming this was getting to work with my close friends, Kenya Guillen and Dennis Mancheren Abach. I feel like collaborating has always been a very rewarding experience, and getting to be on set, getting to cast and work with some of the actors was really inspiring, especially coming from a documentary background, to have to go through a writing process. You know, there was a couple of days where myself and the co-creators, Kenya and Genesis, where we kind of like sat down, had ideas on a whiteboard, erased them, freaked out, went back on, and just sort of like kept pushing through it. I think for me was really rewarding. And then the shoot itself was like a lot of fun for me. I got to work with close friends, and so I thought it was really amazing, really to work and experiment something more than I'm used to. And I'm really in a space to challenge myself a lot, so I thought it was fun to really, I'm really thankful for the opportunity just to really explore and challenge that.
Amazing. Whoever wants to jump in next to answer the question.
I can go next. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, awesome. So for me, it's definitely being able to dance again. So before the lockdown started, I actually went to one of the Filipino-American dance organizations in San Francisco with the intention of attending some of their workshops. But then the lockdowns happened. And since then, all of the art that I've been doing, they've been for other people. So being given the opportunity to create this dance video was a great excuse for me to just make something for myself. And I'm really glad that people appreciated the visuals, the aesthetic of the video, because
it was so cool.
For me, it was even better. Thank you. It was even better for me because I was in that space, being at the beach. It was only me and the two cinematographers and my choreographer, and I just felt like I was the star. And honestly, that was just like a great experience because I like performing, and I was just meditating on my movements and really appreciating the opportunity to dance pangalay, that traditional Filipino dance, and being feeling like I'm back home. So, and also I wanted to mention that when I was shooting, I was actually really insecure about my skills, my dance skills, because I hadn't danced for almost 13 years now. But my choreographer told me that I was doing it for myself. That making art doesn't always have to be for other people. It can also be for yourself, for self-expression, and for healing. And this project really helped me fulfill that.
Wow, that's beautiful. Self-expression and healing. I feel like that's what our art should be all about. What about you, Rahi, if you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I relate to Nix so much because it was such a personal project. I mean, there were a lot of moments of fulfillment, but I think just being able to do it, was the fulfilling part because, as independent artists, we're always hustling and, having to do a lot of projects that caters to like what's gonna pay the bills, and we can't really work on our passion projects. So I think just being able to even get started on a passion project for me was like, I because it was a very short term around for this showcase, I really was telling myself that focus on completion and not perfection. And it wasn't so much for me about the final product, but about being able to do it and the process. And like Nix was mentioning, the process was so healing because I feel like when I create art, I am creating home for my reflections, my thoughts, my imaginations, that a lot of these, I feel like don't have a home in the world we live in, especially as migrants in the United States. So when we create art, we're creating home for, and in some ways giving validity to these thoughts and imaginations and reflections that we have. So, thanks to Center for Cultural Power and for Jesus to have this vision that really allowed me to create a home for these reflections and curiosity I had about, discovering myself.
Wow, that's beautiful. Lidieth, what about you?
Just being able to work on a passion project on something so dear to me and so personal, I think that was a blessing and a privilege to me, honestly, because it's like, not only did we get like the mentorship, very important, the community, the encouragement, the finances to make it happen, to take one idea, one personal wish and make it into reality, that is powerful. And I appreciate, this opportunity for sure. So to me, it's just being able to tell the stories the way that I want to tell them, no restrictions. So that was, a great opportunity. So yeah.
Amazing. And Samantha?
Man, this whole experience was like super amazing and inspiring. There's an African proverb that says, until the lion tells a story, history will always glorify the hunter. And I truly believe, like, as storytellers and as someone who, I direct and produce and create so much with my team that tells other people's stories. But in this scenario, it was like really dope to be able to tell like my story, and also like the people that came together to bring this vision to life, like my team, like so many people here in Atlanta, which is like a booming creative and filmmaking community. And it's also like so important, like who tells the stories, right? And I feel like the people that showed up for me, the people that I worked with, my team, we had a woman DP, like a Latina woman DP, like, you know, to our sound engineer who is also Latino, to our set designer, like just being able to like be able to bring the people who are telling this story and this vision to life, who also reflect like the stories that we're telling. Like, I think that was my favorite part. And to just like feel empowered in the fact that we can own our stories and we can take up space, and we have to like stop waiting for other people to make space for us and just walk in and walk in our power and create that space, because we can fucking do it. So I'm super grateful for Jesus and the Center for Cultural Power for providing us this opportunity.
Wow, yes, absolutely. I agree with everything you guys are saying, and thank you so much for sharing so much of your soul and such important parts of your story with us. So I guess my next question for all of you would be, how would you say that your films explore immigration so that they are indeed beyond status? Nix, if you want to start.
Yeah, so I'm personally not undocumented. I came here after 23 years of processing our papers. We finally got to be here. It was just me and my family, or my parents, and I had to leave 3 of my older siblings. So with, you know, the opportunity that was given to me by Jesus, I was able to just express some of my regrets, really, from not really appreciating my own culture and living my entire life in the Philippines, wishing that I was here. And there's not really a lot of Filipino representation in the mainstream media. And so I don't really have an inspiration or a comparison of what kind of stories are out there already. But with this opportunity, I hope that I was able to show that us migrants have different thoughts, we have different backgrounds, and we have different stories to tell. And that, I think that is the purpose of this, is that there's no similar story.
Beautiful. What about you, Rahi?
Yeah, I think when I just think about like my immigration experience is a part of who I am, it's not who I am, right? I'm not my immigration status. And so I think like status, like, you know, documented, undocumented, I think these status things are trying to simplify who we are. And we're not simple. Our experiences are not simple, right? It's very nuanced, it's very complicated. And so I think beyond status is exploring those nuances, exploring those complexities, right? And I think whenever we, I guess, talk about beyond something, I think we're seeking truth, because whatever is this is not the full truth. So we go beyond that to seek the complete truth. So I think my film is really trying to explore my truth, right? My identity, discovering what is my truth. And a lot of it is where I'm from, my ancestors, the land I'm from, right? And so for me to seek that truth, you know, I was so privileged to be able to go back there and, you know, yeah, find my truth in the way that I want to and learn from that. Yeah, so I think that's kind of like in my film itself, I feel like is about identity. And so it is kind of exploring what is our identity beyond these societal labels, right? There are different labels that are put on us, but we're more than that. So yeah.
Lidieth, what about you?
I think that I because of this showcase, I also approach my story not necessarily focusing on the status, right? Just similar to Rahi, the immigration status is part of me, part of my experience, but it's not who I am as a person. So I wanted to just kind of like, you know, tell this story from the perspective of a holistic person, of unique experiences, and specifically relating to my car and my family, and, you know, some of the things that I've experienced. And then immigration is just something like one minor thing that goes in this whole, how can I say, in this whole story. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. But at the same time, so obviously, just like any part of my filmmaking process, it still has to do with immigration. My brother is included in this story because I cannot talk about immigration without thinking about my brother and what happened to him and what happened to my family and just the fact that I'm still a DACA recipient. So that's very much present, but the story itself is not about that. It's not about politics. It's about human beings. It's about what motivates you and how are we resilient as communities of color, as human beings. And so that's what the focus of the film was in my case. Yeah, similar.
Samantha.
So I think like when it comes to like the immigrant identity, it's like something that we can't escape, right? Because it's something that we have to deal with on an everyday basis. But I think that what we also can't escape is like our humanity, which I think is like first and foremost, like our first identity. Like we are human beings that have dreams and that have aspirations and that, like music and like food and have like these very real human experiences. So for me, like with Ganso Raros, it is like the first identity and the goal for this like series is that first and foremost, this character is an odd duck, somebody who has big dreams, somebody who gives themselves permission to live out these big dreams and to fail and to strike out and to meet other odd ducks in this journey. And what comes second is the fact that this odd duck happens to be a fucking immigrant. But that's not the first identity that this character wants to be known by. And I think that that's like how we see ourselves as immigrants. Like no immigrant has one story. And I feel like that narrative that's out there all the time is so like one-dimensional. And I think that it is so important. And then when we are, given the opportunity to tell a story, it is dissected down to the point to where like, oh, they didn't say this or they didn't do this. So you kind of like create from a space of like, I have to get it right. But it's like, you can't get it right when there's so many different immigrants from so many different walks of life. And I feel like there needs to be more immigrant stories out there through different lenses and through different experiences, because there is no, there's no one story that could tell all of our stories. And so like, for me, like the process was just coming from that space, giving like myself permission to create and tell a story of an odd duck that happens to be an immigrant.
Frisly.
I think for me, my project in particular, like when we started writing it, we actually threw out like the idea of immigrant like as soon as we got to writing, because we weren't necessarily creating a story about a human with like an actual human being. We're really thinking about immigration or just like this alien, how do I say it? Like it really started with making fun of aliens, given that we were watching a lot of stuff like the Pentagon releasing UFO stories, Bezos going up to space. And so myself and the writers, we kind of were sitting down, just watching something, and we're like, could you imagine if one of our friends is like, wait, I'm not undocumented, I'm actually like an alien, and just like reveals like this creature. And we thought that that would be very absurd and something that we wanted to explore. And so I want to say that maybe when we went beyond status, because we just stopped thinking about the status and the identity that follows migration. There's something that I think everyone said here, but I remember Yosimar saying this a lot, Yosimar the poet, which was that like identity, immigrant is not our identity, but it's like our condition. So it's like the material conditions that we exist in, not necessarily like what is our identity. And so we're like, what if an alien's conditions are that they can't go back home to space? And we just started writing based on like, what would somebody do if they need to go to space? And so we really had a lot of blast doing that. And even when we were doing some of the acting and rehearsals with the actors, I think Layla's on the call, also Nate and Michael, We sort of explained to them that like it's not really an immigrant story. It's really like a story about like an alien that's from Queens and is just trying to go home. And we just started having jokes with that because ultimately what we felt is like Rakim is like a diasporic alien, but like what does that look like for someone in space? So that's what I would say about that take.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. My next question for you guys would be, are there any plans for any of you to expand on your projects, and what can we expect to see from each of you in the future? We can start with Lidieth.
Yeah, actually, after editing this piece and having such a hard time deciding what goes into the final piece because I have so much footage and memories, and I'm like, I want to include it all. So I do plan on extending the film a little bit. I have some things that I did not include because of time. But yeah, maybe like a 10-minute piece or something like that. Who knows? But we'll definitely be working on that. So yeah, that will be immediately. And then in the future, there is actually something completely different that I have never done before, but it's actually an animation project. It's going to be a short series. I cannot say much about it yet, but it will be something that will be new to me, and I'm very excited about it.
Congratulations. Samantha, what about you?
So my dream is for Odd Ducks, and something that I will definitely do is for Odd Ducks, Ganso Raros to become like a full-blown series that we see on FX or HBO or Netflix. I am relentless. I don't take no too easily. So it will definitely be out in the world one day. I don't know when, but it will. So that's my goal. And of course, in the meantime, we'll continue to do the work that we do through Off the Record. It's just, you know, creating content, telling stories of amazing people, and pushing the envelope every day.
Yes. Frisly, what about you?
Definitely for us, this felt like a quick concept piece about like aliens in Queens. And so we definitely have ideas about like what would happen next. Like what if there's an underground alien community that nobody knows about? So I definitely feel like we would love to develop this into some form of pilot, longer one, and seeing where it goes. Hopefully getting to work with the same crew, same cast. Quick shout out to our cinematographer and audio person. So thank you, Sydney and Chris. I don't know if they're in there, but they really like helped the piece come together.
Nix.
Yes, I'm in the same boat as Lidieth. I also had to cut some of the shots that I wanted to include. I really wanted to extend the interview portion when talking about the dance, because I think that me borrowing it from two groups from in the Philippines that I'm not a part of, I have the responsibility to educate people about the culture and the dance itself. So that's something I want to do. And in terms of my filmmaking, I've always dreamt of becoming a video artist. So doing something more experimental. I dream of my work to be in a contemporary art museum where you can't really figure out what's going on in my head and what the art is about. But I'm not really sure how to get there. So, but I'll get there someday.
Will just keep working hard. Yes, you will. I love that. Rahi, what about you?
For my piece, like Jesus mentioned, it is a vignette of a longer piece. I think it's like, kind of like a small chapter from it. And the longer piece will definitely will go deeper into kind of like unpacking a lot of the questions that I was asking in this piece. And it will be more from the lens of my childhood self growing up in Bangladesh. And, you know, it will, I think folks that might be able to relate to it are that may be raising children, because one of the things that I'm interested in through exploring through this film is, you know, I was like Jesus also gave a shout out, I'm a water sign. And even though there's some pieces missing, but with some of the family, some information I received from my family, like my birth time, then my family remembered. Based on that, I'm a triple water sign, and my chart just has so much water, which for folks who are like, what are you talking about? In astrology, the element of water kind of represents sensitivity and being very emotional. So as a child, I was a very sensitive child, kind of introverted, and I internalized a lot of the things I experienced to like in a very deep way. So, as I'm learning about myself, I'm learning like, oh, there is just so much complexity, right? For like, whether it's being a triple water sign or being like, when you're internalizing fear and internalizing, different negative experiences. But when I was a child, like I definitely felt like I didn't have the support I needed. So what I'm trying to get at is like, for us to know, perhaps this film will be kind of, my process will perhaps be, helpful for folks that are trying to understand their children who are perhaps like very sensitive, very tender, very, and like maybe astrology can inform some parts of it. I'm also interested in exploring like the political turmoil that Bangladesh was going through at that time. The year I was born, the year after, there was a major flood in Bangladesh. And there's all these little connections between like things that was happening in the country, historically, environmentally, and how all of that intersect with like my journey growing up in Bangladesh. So there's a lot. I'm excited about it. Excited to dive deep into it. So we'll see.
That is so beautiful. I would love to ask you guys next. We're going to be taking a couple of audience questions, and somebody in the audience wants to know if you guys can talk about your artistic inspiration as filmmakers, if it's other filmmakers, artists, or what has shaped your artistic practice the most. So, Frisly, if you want to go first.
I think I feel like I find myself, I was discussing this with some of my friends, like find myself trying to build worlds often, whether it's like an aquarium or like, I don't know, something, a VR experience, because I've done some stuff with like VR. And so I always find myself building worlds. And particular with this project, I was inspired by some independent Mexican cinema that I thought was really funny. And some of the framing ideas came from like Ozu, just kind of like frame within a frame shots, very steady shots. Being a documentarian, I think transitioning over to narrative has been like a very exciting experience. And so I've looked to other folks who have tried doing similar things, particularly like, in this speak particular, I just try to watch as many films that I felt aligned with the energy that I was trying to do. But I'm really inspired by a lot of, indie film, Latin American film. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Lidieth, what about you?
For when I was still in the early stages of coming up with the story and the script, I actually started looking at films that are about cars, like Herbie Fully Loaded, and I'm like, okay, just trying to get inspiration, but then at the end I was like, you know what? This is not my voice. This is not authentic. I'm just gonna focus on like what I want to say, how I want to portray things. And so that's ultimately the route that I went. But obviously I was looking at car stories and stuff like that. Yeah, that would be particular to this film. But overall in filmmaking, it's really interesting. I actually got my inspirations from like soundtracks and music, inspirational music that I saw in movies that evoked some kind of emotions in me. And I will close my eyes and I will imagine the scenes and these stories happening. And so that's actually one of the how my filmmaking and story making journey started with just listening to soundtracks. It's really odd. I don't know how, but that's how I started. Yeah.
What about you, Samantha?
I was inspired by pretty much like life, right? Like when I came up with this concept for Ganso Raros, I was definitely inspired by like my own lived experiences, but not just my own, the experiences of all of the amazing people that I have met on my journey who are big dreamers, who are odd ducks themselves. Definitely inspired by this city of Atlanta, which I came to 10 years ago with nothing, and it has given me everything. So the inspiration of the people here, the music here, the culture, where we Latinos fit in this state, which is so, such an interesting dynamic, just being in this city, in this state. And of course, like from the style of it and stuff, I'm always inspired by people like Issa Rae, who started on YouTube and created their own series and starred in it and created a path for themselves. So I was definitely inspired by all of those different elements and things, but most importantly by, my imagination and like my lived experiences and what I want to put out into the world.
Rahi, what about you?
I think my general inspiration for creating anything comes from some of my like core passions. So one would be, so I also have a background in dance. I trained in Indian classical dance for 10 years, Kathak. And I think movement was definitely an escape for me when I was a child. I also grew up watching Bollywood, and I feel like Bollywood has Bollywood, like music and Bollywood films have sort of like a dreamy aspect to it. You kind of just like escape into a dreamy world for some minutes. And I think the correlation of like, escaping into my creative world through movements, that's why like you see in my film, like there was a kind of a bookend of me dancing, and because it was like a film that was kind of a journal or a diary, and I feel like I express myself most freely when I'm dancing. Also, my spirituality, my healing practice is a big aspect of my creativity. I think I think anything I have created so far, you will see some reflection of that. Like, for instance, in this film, there was a ritual I was doing. Another thing would be I went to school for philosophy, and philosophy is a big part of, like, I identify as a thinker and a thought leader. I was always very attracted to provocative art or provocative thinking. So I think being like, I really like provocateurs, artists, that a lot of queer artists that I'm very drawn toward, are very raw with their work, very just kind of like, just kind of bold and raw. And so I think I draw all of those into my work, and it's kind of like a khichdi, we say in Bangla. It's a dish that you put rice and dal and everything together. So I think all of that kind of manifest in my work.
Nix, what about you?
I'm inspired by the other Filipinos in my community. So in the Bay Area, we have this growing Filipino community district, actually, a Filipino cultural heritage district called Soma Pilipinas. And there's a lot of very talented Filipino Americans there. And I see a lot of dancers creating their own videos and joining film festivals. And I'm just really inspired by, them crossing over to a different kind of expression through video, not just like performance, like live performance, especially during the pandemic. And I'm also really inspired by YouTubers, actually. I like how many of them just think outside of the box and try not to emulate the mainstream media, which is basically run by mostly, older white guys. So that's something that I want to continue doing. Actually, I do have my own YouTube channel that I haven't touched since the start of the pandemic. But I am inspired by all of you in this panel to continue doing and making art for ourselves and also for others. So yeah.
Said, thank you guys so much for doing that. And last question, people want to know how they can keep up with your work and how they can connect with you guys. So we can start with Samantha and go along the line.
So people can keep up with our work, our film work at offtherecord.com. That's OFFTHARECORD.com. For my personal work, you can follow my Instagram, which is where I use the most, which is Sam Off the Record. That's OFFTHA. And my website, samofftherecord.com also.
Frisly.
At the moment, I don't really have any public-facing profiles, but you could always like find me like if you search for my name, Frisly, or you could reach out to Jesus and have my contact information.
Nix.
Yes, I have my website, which is basically just my name, nixguirre.com. And also my Instagram handle is on the website, beyondstatus.us. And I can also type it up here.
Rahi.
My Linktree address is on the Beyond Status profile page. It's Linktree MMJ Documentaries, and that's actually the best, like most updated place to know about my work. There is a tab there, a link to sign up for my newsletter, and I would say that would be the most updated place. Please sign up for my newsletter. I haven't sent out any newsletters yet, but it's probably December or January when it will go out. It'll be all shiny and ready with everything I'm about to do. So please sign up for my newsletter.
And Lidieth.
You can find me on social media as my full name, Lidieth Arevalo. And also my website is the same, lidietharevalo.com. And also please follow Mojosito. I do plan on doing a couple things. So you can find Mojosito and Me on social media, Instagram and Facebook. I'll be sharing some cool updates. So
Yay, exciting. Well, thank you so much, Frisly, Nix, Rahi, Samantha, and Lidieth. Thank you so much for joining us here and also for creating these deeply important films full of so much strength and resilience and stories that also contribute to a larger narrative of the migrant experience, which is so important. And not just an experience that doesn't seek to reform a broken immigration system, but also that unapologetically envisions a life beyond it. And I think as Latinos, we need more of those stories. And of course, thank you so much to the Center for Cultural Power for creating such a beautiful and powerful space for us here today. And everyone, to learn more about these films and the creators, please visit beyondstatus.us. I am Emily Tosta, and have a lovely night, everyone. Thank you so much.